1 year ago, when the U.S. moved its embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, the Trump administration stressed that it's only recognizing a reality on the ground. Is it really so? Or was the Trump administration also creating a reality on the ground, one that would lay the groundwork for the future peace plan? To discuss, let's bring in Goldberg, editor-at-large at Forward, and Eric Mandel, director of the Middle East Political Information Network. Welcome to both of you. What do you think? Did the relocation of the embassy to Jerusalem, Eric, I'll start with you, really change much in terms of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, or was it mainly a symbolic act?
Well, I think it's both. First of all the arms of Israeli government are in Jerusalem, have been in Jerusalem, except for the Kiryat, the Pentagon of Israel. On the other hand, the idea that up until this point of time, people thought this was a final status issue, the idea that the United States said, we're now going to formally recognize it, following what the overwhelming bipartisan majority of both the House and Senate said in the Jerusalem Embassy Act of 1995, to put it in reality is very strong, because it basically said the Palestinians could have had Jerusalem in 37, 39, 47, 48, 67, 2000, 2001 in Taba, and in 2008, they could have had this, they chose not to, so we're not going to be beholden to their intransience anymore.
In other words, Eric, you're saying that Jerusalem, or the final status of the city, is not the main obstacle on the way to make peace between the two sides. JJ, your thoughts?
Well, it's not the main obstacle. It's not non-existent as an obstacle. There's a tendency to paint this thing in extremes, as though on the one hand it's the end of the world, on the other hand we've now shown what reality is. It was predicted that this would be, the American embassy would be the first of many embassies that would move. In the end, there's only one embassy that's been moved, and that's Guatemala. Paraguay moved the embassy and then moved it back a few days later, so to Tel Aviv.
What is the main obstacle to peace?
The main obstacle to peace is that the talks that have been going on and off for the last 25 years keep on ending suddenly when they're closer and closer to a resolution. There was talks going on in 95. Rabin was assassinated. Those talks ended. There were talks going on in 2000 and 2001. We remember that Arafat walked out of the Camp David talks. We don't remember that they resumed 3 weeks later and continued in Washington and then in Taba, and then Barak lost his coalition. Shas quit the coalition. In 2008, there were talks going on. Both sides said that they were a few weeks away from an agreement, including on the refugees and so on. And then Olmert quit because he was facing indictment. So in each case, the talks get closer and closer, and in each case, Israel loses its prime minister.
And you say, so you're saying both sides are to blame for the failure of past attempts?
The past attempts have not failed. They've gotten closer and closer.
So will the Trump administration peace plan bring us closer to peace?
Well, first of all, we don't know what the plan is.
But from the hints and what we're reading into it right now, and what reaction do you foresee on both sides to the peace plan?
Well, I think the first thing, I think the Israelis, no matter what is said, are going to say this is very interesting. I think, we thank the president for engaging, and we ask our Palestinian friends for let's negotiate. The Palestinians still haven't gotten over the hump of being able to accept Israel as a Jewish state in any part of a land that was once Islamic. And until they can get past refugees, descendants of refugees coming back, of feeling that any part of mandatory, of the British mandatory area is really theirs, and stop teaching the narrative to their own people through mosques, through media, that basically everything from Haifa to Tel Aviv to Ashdod to Ashkelon is Palestinian, you're not preparing your people for peace. And I think that has really been the big obstacle there, that they haven't been able to get over that hump.
So, JJ, by moving the embassy to Jerusalem, recognizing Jerusalem officially as Israel's capital, recognizing the Golan Heights, trying to create a different discourse around the identity of who is a Palestinian refugee and who is not, the Trump administration over the past year has been trying to encourage a different discourse around the conflict. The question is it succeeding?
When you encourage a different discourse, what you're really doing is taking item after item off the table. All these items that had been agreed for decades.
Including a two-state solution term?
The two-state solution is still up in the air. It's
yeah,
generally
but
accepted
using
as
this
the
term.
answer. But it's not over. It's by no means over because nobody's got an alternative to it. Now, if and when the Trump administration, we've been hearing for a long time, it's time to have an economic basis. Give them.
All right. We have to leave it there. We won't solve the conflict today, but JJ Goldberg and Eric Mandel, thank you for joining us.